Just so you know, log on to doggiediamondstv.com. That is my official website, doggiediamondstv.com. On there, you'll find videos that you didn't see before. Also, you could find ways to get in contact with me via your social media account of your choice. What else we got on there? We got you can put your email in the bottom of the screen. And when you put your email in the bottom of the screen, then you could get some of these email blasts that I'll be sending out. And listen, if you don't know about the promotion, let me give you some detail real quick. Have you heard about my $200 social media promotion deal? If you didn't, listen to these details real quick. The promotion will be done on Doggie Diamonds TV and the Interlude TV accounts. That's the Insta stories, the YouTube communities, the threads, the Facebook, the Twitter accounts. I could promote whatever you need. But as a reminder, though, this is for serious inquiries only. You must be Cash App ready, and I can help you get in front of over 500 to 600,000 people with a post on my various social media outlets with your product. If it's your t-shirts, your YouTube, your website, whatever you need promotion for, I can get you in front of those people. Just contact me at Doggie Diamonds on Instagram. Let's go. Yes. And as the music starts, make sure you hit that like button. The like button is important. We got to shout out Squabble and Jerome. King Michael Coy is in the building. AJ Davis, what's up? Money Marvelous Multimedia TV Network, what's up? Hold on. Money Marvelous Multimedia TV Network. That's a tongue twister, but we got it out. We also got Squabble Jerome in the building. Well, Self-Sufficient 100. Caesar, what's up? It's about that time. Chris Harlow, what's up? Self-Sufficient 100, fly name. Van P, what's up? Gary Pate, what's up? Make sure you hit the like button. Rizzo 27, what's up? Missed you the last couple of shows, but I'm glad you're here tonight. And I promise you, this will be one for the books that you will watch over and over. I promise you. And don't forget,
Doggie Diamonds did this.
Yeah, because sometimes y'all forget, so I gotta remind you. Matter of fact, y'all gonna make me make something to say hit the like button. Yo, Chop, what's up? Jamarco Liverman, what's up? I'm here. Marcy Projects is in the building. Marcy's in the building. Yes. So as the intro runs, you got to make sure you're hitting that like. We got over 100 people in the building early, but we got 24 likes. We got to change that. So if you don't know how to hit the like button and you're on your phone, just hit the X on live chat. Hit the thumb and then hit live chat again. ATL Money, what's up? That's simple. We got EC in the building. That's a member. That's why they in that green. Yes. Yes. Yes, we gonna get me to that M. Don't worry about it. Slow dough is better than no dough. The slow burn is better than no burn. You know, we like an incense. We burn and we give off good fragrances, you know? All positive fragrances. Which remind me, I ain't burned no incense in a while. Hold up. I gotta burn some incense when I get off y'all. Sweet D, how you doing? Blessings to you as well. Blessings to you as well. So without any further ado, I'm Doggie Diamonds. Introduce yourself to the good folks.
Peace, family. It's Brother Tad back again. Glad to be sitting here chilling.
So you one of my counsel, one of the people I call, just to build you, Cousin Poe, Tadro, you one of the people that I call. And in any event it acts stupid, we'll be right back, y'all, because you know how YouTube be trying to do us sometimes. But
hold up, real quick. Happy King Day to Poe.
Yeah, happy my cousin Poe. Happy B-Day to him today. You know what I'm saying? So, but I did want to say, you one of the people that I called them, just life. We talk about life. And throughout our history of being family for one, being first cousins for two, and being in the street together, one of the things that we always did, we had meetings. We had family meetings, we had street meetings, and we always got up with each other. And when somebody was out of line, that was doing something that was detrimental to everybody, we always held them accountable. What was my brother Mel, which is, you know him before me, what did he used to call us and say? What he called you and said one day?
Nah, you got it fucked up. You be getting it fucked up.
One day, my older brother called Tad and was just like, yo, you be getting it fucked up. He didn't even tell you what he was talking about yet, but he called you to tell you that.
Yeah.
He had me by some years. He had you by a couple of years. He had me by more years, of course. But he called you to tell you and hold you accountable for something that he didn't like. You wasn't scared of him, nor was he scared of you, but that's our relationship where, yo, nah, you tripping. So for the people who might be watching, because I see sometimes certain words bother people. Certain words is triggering to people. But it's not a triggering thing to us because this is what we ride. This is what our life is about. This is what it's been about with us. What does accountability mean to you?
Accountability is to me, it's the foundation of your legacy, or whoever you say you are, whatever you say you represent. Because without accountability, there's no checks and balances in what you're doing. Like for most people, I'd like to think. Now I could be wrong, but we got goals in the direction we trying to head in. And of course, we're gonna have obstacles and challenges. And when we come against those obstacles and challenges, believe it or not, that's for us to take that opportunity to grow. You're only going to grow through challenges and obstacles and even failures. But some folks, as we know, like you said, we have family meetings, street team meetings, business meetings. People run into hiccups, challenges, and mistakes. And rather than claim the situation, they want to blame the situation. And when you start blaming other people, you pretty much, in essence, relinquish your power, the power that you have to conquer whatever obstacle you have, because whatever you're trying to get to, it's not going to be an easy road. You ask anybody that's successful, every financial guru, every self-help author, everybody who talks about personal development always talks about the challenges they have. Even Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, talked about how he couldn't hold a job when he was younger. He always got fired because he was always messing up. But accountability lets you self-analyze how you respond to any challenges you have in life. Because if you don't respond appropriately, you become what? Irresponsible. And if you're irresponsible, you're trustworthy, which means you're not qualified to lead. So anything you say is going to fall on deaf ears because you don't take accountability.
So
And that's just my position.
So if I may, could I show them some words? Because if people are bothered by the word accountability, let's show them some synonyms, right? Let's show them words, another word for accountability. Maybe those words will resonate with them. So if I may, accountable synonyms, 13 similar and opposite words. What is an alternative to accountability? Nouns: responsibility, answerability, blame, liability, and fault. So when I did my video the other night, what was one of the things that I pointed out? It's your fault. When you take fault, you take an accountability for the situation being what it is. And in being a boss, being the boss, it's always your fault. It's your fault in fatherhood, motherhood, relationships, friendships, whether it's romantic or just the homie. You get what I'm saying? So I don't know why that word would bother somebody. I don't know why that word is troublesome for some, because it's positioning that we all got to take accountability sometimes. So like, for example, let's take myself. When I was 300 pounds, whose fault was that? So I had to take accountability for my weight, right? What I always say to y'all, I got a lot of excuses, but I don't use them. That's why the start of this is no excuses. I got to be accountable for what I eat. I got to be accountable for not exercising. I got to be accountable for being lazy because it reflected me. If it reflected me and I end up losing and succumbing to some type of ailment because I'm not taking accountable for my weight, I can't blame y'all, but y'all are affected by what I do. You get what I'm saying? Because if y'all got to bury me because I want to be a fat bastard and eat all types of stuff, I didn't take accountability. But I could make an excuse. No, because this happened. But at the end, there's no excuses when you are accountable for your life and when you are responsible for others. That's the point I'm trying to convey. You are responsible for others. If you in a car, if you drive in a car and you get into an accident, it's something called no fault. Where, you just asked out. You rock somebody. You can't say, you turn fast because now you're responsible for all these people's life that's in this car. And you got to be accountable that you might have ran the light. You might have made the wrong turn. And I realize when people don't want to take accountability, they don't want to be grown-ass men. So look how many street, because it seems like sometimes people only understand nigga. Like when you talk, when you talk business or you talk anything, they don't understand that. But look how many times in the street we did shit. When you caught that man on Lafayette, I said, what happened? You said, I got bagged.
Got bagged.
You remember that like yesterday, right? I'm like, Tab, what happened? I got bagged.
Word. While they putting the cuffs on.
Yeah, word. He's like, I got bagged.
Got me on the car, putting the cuffs on me. Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that too, in terms of accountability, like with street life and real life. Because I think we talked on another show here where we was talking about what's the ceiling to street life. You play that game of the street life. You hit the upper echelon. You become the grand master. You the illest dude in Nebraska, whatever. All right, what's the prize now?
Right.
What's the prize? And people don't understand there's more to life than that, because anytime you sitting on the throne with the crown in the streets, you got about 50 million dudes coming for that crown. That's why we always talked about this before. In Brooklyn, nobody could ever say they run Brooklyn, no matter who you are, how large you are. Nobody runs Brooklyn, because if there was a throne created, somebody from Brooklyn gonna steal the throne before the king could sit in the throne.
Right.
And if you happen to sit in the throne for 5, 10, 30 seconds, they gunning for you.
Right.
So when we talk about accountability in the streets, we still hold on to the stop snitching code. And I get it, because for some people, street life is their reality. But you get mad at a civilian for snitching on you. How about this? How about you don't commit the crime?
Right.
Part one.
Yeah.
And I get it. I don't want to be a hypocrite, dog, because like you said, what I'm saying, I got jammed up. I get it. It's part of life, what I'm saying? When you're in the hood, you do what you got to do to get to the next level. But once you get to those levels, at what point do you kind of surrender things? You know what I mean? Surrender the lifestyle. Because if it's all about the bag, then get to the bag. You know what I'm saying? If you grinding for 50K in the hood, what's the difference between 50K in the hood and a clean, legit 50K if somebody give you the opportunity to make it free and clear without police bothering you? But Jay-Z created a song called The Law of the Game, the song Allure. Some people like the prestige and the notoriety that comes with being a street dude. But when we talk accountability, you want folks that's not in that lifestyle to hold you down, to watch your back, to protect you,
right,
while you do what you do in the community.
Right.
And the moment a citizen reports the quote unquote crime, because you're living as a criminal, you're living by the criminal code, but you ask the civilians to be accomplices to your criminal behavior.
Right.
And then you get mad. Why? Because you're not accountable for your actions.
Exactly.
Again, I'm not going to be a hypocrite.
Right.
When I was in the streets, I knew to be mindful. I knew to be aware. I knew not to get people involved that had nothing to do with anything that I was doing. Sometimes there is collateral damage. That's unfortunate. But that's what it is when you're in the hood. But at what point, right, dog? And I'm gonna pass the mic back to you.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do the men? We talking about accountability.
Grown men.
Let's talk about men.
Yeah.
Let's talk about men. At what point do we become the proper representation of the hood and become the protectors of the hood? When do we stop putting innocent people in harm's way and take accountability for what we doing? You're gonna have a bang out. You don't do that at a school. You don't do that when grandma getting out of church. You know what I'm saying? And trust me, I have my fair share of bang-outs, but it's on a level playing field when you in a particular place where you know certain people are not around. You try to minimize the damage. But as a man, if you do get jammed up, take accountability.
Right.
My first case, when you saw me getting
Right.
jammed
Right.
up,
Like, yeah.
it was 3 or 4 of us,
Yeah.
and only 2 of us got bagged. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I didn't tell on nobody. I didn't say, well, he hiding in the bushes. He
Right.
went that way. I was accountable. They said, yo, what happened to the dudes that was with you? I don't know what you talking about. I don't know what you talking about. You got me prove what you say I did. And that's it. And that's always my position. Why? Because I knew what I signed up for. I knew what I was getting involved in. So I took accountability for my action. And I'm just so fortunate that so many things worked out in my favor. But just being associated with all kind of criminal activities when you're in that life, because we talking about 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
When you in that life, you really got to take accountability for that. And that's when you're in the streets. But that has to become a habit and part of your foundation. So
right.
when you get out,
you started
the street
there.
life,
Yeah. When you started there, when you get here,
get into the real world.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Now,
so now let's talk about accountability and why it's important. Because when you accountable, that means you're responsible.
Yes.
And when you're responsible for other people, let's talk about business. When you're responsible for other people, you got to be accountable. And when you're the professed leader, or you want to be the leader, you're responsible for everybody else. Or you a bad leadership, because poor leadership is why we at where we at right now. The reason why Dr. Umar don't got to build a school, because nobody can hold him accountable.
Right.
Because in the minute some of us hold him accountable, people gonna make excuses for why he didn't do what he do. But he's never taken accountability for why it didn't happen. It's always somebody else's fault. And I want to show the audience something, if I may, also as well. And this is important because this is what everybody is. Everybody getting to the bag and everybody getting money, but nobody want to, oh, I made a mistake. Nobody want to research nothing like this. Accountability for business owners. 6 secrets to fast growth. And this was written in 2021. What does accountability for business owners mean? How does accountability in business help? Here's how to build an accountability culture in your business. How can a business owner be more accountable? Benefits of an accountability partner for business owners. How to find an accountability partner. Do you need help with accountability in your business? And reason why this is important is because if you're not accountable, then you can mess up the bag. And that wasn't a cheap shot at Umar. That was a direct shot. I don't throw cheap shots. I say names. So you could get up out of here with that if you think it's a cheap shot. Big up Dr. Umar. Well, this is what we gonna do. You'll be back in 24 hours or not. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't play that over here. We hold people accountable. And that's the problem now.
Feet to the fire.
That's the problem now. Because when we call names and we say names, you want to say, you throwing subliminals. When we don't throw subliminals, it wasn't a cheap shot. It was a real shot.
Direct shot.
Direct shot, because I said his name. And it ain't cheap. Ain't nothing cheap about nothing that I do. My conversation ain't cheap. Conversation ain't cheap. But if I can't hold you accountable, that means you get to spend the funding. That means you get to do what you want to do in this business. What is an accountant? What is it? Just look at the word account. You can't take account. So that's what accountability is. Accountant is the person who takes the account of the money.
Measure the wins and losses.
This is the point I'm making. So when you say accountability, I don't know why that word would bother anybody, because again, when you in the leadership position, when you're the one that put all the pieces together, when one of them pieces mess up, if you got a car and you get a flat, you can't ride around with 3 tires and say, yo, I just got 3 tires. Because if you get into an accident, they're going to say, why you didn't have 4 tires? You got to take accountability for having 3 tires. So now when we in these situations and we see different people, because for some reason accountability is a bad thing, because even what happens with your children, if you have your children and they're going to school and they cursing, where did they learn that from? You still got to take accountability because that's your child.
Right.
You can't say, I don't know where they got that from. It's up to you to chastise them or teach them better or get to the bottom of why they're cursing in school. But for some reason, individuals have a problem with saying, yo, that's my fault. And that's the main thing of accountability. Come on, Ty, how many times we been in the street and we could get into it every day because dudes is face fighting, mean mugging. Some dudes might even recognize you. That look like such and such. And how many times I've been on the phone with you, you've been on the phone with me, you'd be like, all right, peace, peace, peace.
Peace. Yeah.
Because I got to be accountable that this could go left off a face fight.
Yeah.
But I don't want that, because if if I lay somebody down or get laid down, whose fault is that?
Right.
So a person who don't want to be held accountable for anything, or anybody defending somebody not being accountable, I have to look at your responsibilities. I got to look how responsible you are. You get what I'm saying? Because I just showed y'all accountability and responsibility is synonymous.
It's synonymous. Yeah. And that's funny because responsibility is your ability to respond.
Right.
See, accountability sounds like a bad word to people who don't want to grow, because people are stuck in this paradigm of who they believe they're supposed to be for whatever group that they value. I hope I'm not talking too fast and over some people's head, because again, we all have this value system that we uphold. For you and I value, our social circle that we value is our family and
Right.
supporters.
Right.
You know, we're not putting on for the quote unquote the crowd. We don't get sneakers and outfits and cars and say, "Oh, I'm a shit on dudes when I pull up in this and when I rock these." Because we know that mentality too. We've been there. You know what I'm saying? With dudes who only buy things to impress people in the hood. But when you talk about growth, when you talking about personal development, a lot of folks, they're turned off by that. Their spirits are irritated by that because they vibrating on a low frequency.
Right.
You know what I mean? They still haven't grown. And I realize for you and I, people who grew up in hip hop and watched the evolution, I won't say the evolution of hip hop, but the regression of hip hop, because it should be a lot bigger and further than what it is now in terms of the artists that hip hop puts out there. But unfortunately, we got people who function on a low level of thinking, low level of vibrating. And those of us who've been around hip hop from the beginning, those over 40 years old, should be thinking better, should be thinking clearer, should be thinking on a higher level, should be talking about cleaning up the community as well as cleaning up themselves. But we got dudes who's 40, 50 years old who still can't function without some type of mental stimulant.
Mm-hmm.
They need a bump. They need a hit. They need a smoke.
Got to get high. Yeah. Yep.
They like being sober minded irritates their spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to tap into, why do I not enjoy life while I'm sober?
Mm-hmm.
Why I can't function with a clear mind? I mean, you used to drink all the time. You never smoked. I used to smoke a lot and drink.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I realized if I want the bag, I started becoming accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to account how much of my money was going to weed.
Word.
How much of my money was going to alcohol. I had like a $50 a day habit with weed.
Mm-hmm.
You add that up. That's about $350 a week. $350 times 4. That's about $1,400 a month
Mm-hmm.
on weed. That's $1,400, and we talking about in the '90s, where $1,400. I don't even think rent in New York went up to 1,400 yet.
Right,
You
right.
know what I mean? And then we not counting the multiple dollars we drop on the alcohol. Because when we went to the club, I would just go, yo, here's $100 on whatever we gonna get.
Yep.
Because there's always a bunch of us. We getting bottles. Here's my little light buck, and if you need more, come back. But here's $100 to start. If I'm doing that once a week, that's $400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? On top of the $1,400. So we talking about any damn near $2,000 a month on a stimulant. Mind you, I got children.
Right,
I'm sure they could use that 2 bands.
right, right.
And even though I always supported my family, always supported my family, always supported my family,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I wasn't caught up in no family court stuff. I mean,
Child
I've
support.
been
Yeah.
through that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah.
been through there.
Right.
I'm not gonna act like I was never scathed by it. You know what I'm saying? Because if your baby mama get on welfare, they knocking on your door. Let's
Word.
believe that. But I had the resources to change that situation, get custody of my children, and go back to not having to pay child support because I always been a provider. My point though, $2,000 a month for what?
Right.
Just to say I got high?
With
Don't
with
even remember a
with
lot of those
dudes.
nights
With dudes.
with dudes.
Eh,
Hold
eh,
on, it was a couple of chicks
no,
too.
no, but I'm
Now,
just saying the
Indians,
foundation was us,
yeah,
and then we're in pursuit of them. But most of the time they chose. You get what I'm saying? But
right,
we
right.
was gonna be in the company. But for the same individuals, when they gotta pay a bill for their business, they don't want to be held accountable. But you got money for furs. You got money for a Mary. You got money to stunt, but money for your business, you ain't got it. That comes responsibility. Look, heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's a lot of responsibility that comes with power. If you want to be this power broker in this culture, look at the people you're responsible for, because look at the people that you're going to disappoint when you can't be held accountable and you're not responsible. What about all the people you're responsible for? What about the team that you built?
Mm-hmm.
What are they supposed to do? And you seen me being young, 15 coming in the culture, I was responsible for everybody. And always held it down, responsible for Big, Little Kim, Uncle Murder, you name it. I was responsible for them at 15. Uncle Murder was like 11? Like 11 coming through. But I always was responsible. But if that beat wasn't done, I can't say, nah, I was asleep. Yo, you always it's always your fault. When you are
Even
the
if you
leader,
ain't there.
when you are the leader, it's your fault. Because you're the one that put people in these positions. And when they don't do the job, you got to change and rearrange stuff. It's like if you go out on a marathon. Sneakers ain't doing the job. You can't say, yo, I did a slow time because of my sneakers. What's our favorite thing? Nobody told you to do that shit.
Nobody told you to do that
We
shit.
always say that, yo, I did. Nobody told you to do that shit. Go ahead.
I had on Jordans.
Yeah,
First,
dumbass.
yeah. I said, oh, this is the value of switching your kicks.
Right.
Because, I had an old pair of Jordans. I'm like, this is my first race. It was only a 5K, and it really wasn't comfortable. It was comfortable to walk, but not comfortable to run.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point about leaders and leaderships, what we realize is a lot of people want the title, but they don't want the responsibility. And again, they only want the title for the prestige that they think is going to bring. But if you can't function in that title, you actually look crazier.
Right.
You have to have a level of humility and realize when you in over your head. Case in point, when I was in Africa and they wanted to make me a chief, I declined.
Mm-hmm.
My elder asked me, why did you decline? I said, you know why? Because I got so much stuff on my plate back in the States, I can't really take on another responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I had straight Black Pride, African Village Party, and my family, not to mention my own personal space, because I tell anybody listening, you need your personal space to develop yourself.
Right.
Please, find an hour to work out, find 10 minutes to meditate, 5 minutes to pray, but please find time for yourself, because if you don't, everybody will pull you in different directions. Your family, your job, your friends, your church, your social club, your mosque, everybody will pull you in different directions, and you'll start to lose so much of yourself if you don't make a conscious effort to take time for yourself. Because once you start doing that, you start to analyze challenges in the direction you really want to go in, and then you start learning the power of no. When people start asking you to do things, you say no. Why? Because you start to recognize what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And some people just want the title and they don't want the responsibility. So they get the title of the leader, and then they want to delegate jobs to other people that may not be qualified because they did not vet them. And when that person is not vetted and they fumble the ball or the bag, you want to be mad at them as opposed to taking accountability, saying, damn, I picked this
I
loser.
hired them. Exactly.
I picked this loser. Why did I do that?
Exactly. Exactly. So look at this, right? So anytime I remember your mom's, rest in peace. Remember she
Shout
was
out to Mom Duke.
she was the
Rest in peace.
supervisor of the center, remember?
Yes.
Of the food. She stepped down. She said, because this job ain't gonna kill me. The last supervisor had a heart attack.
Yep.
I'm gonna step down because I don't want to be held accountable. I'm accountable for this whole center.
Yeah.
I don't want that. This job ain't gonna kill me. And she retired smooth and cool.
And,
So
and
go ahead.
And never missed, and she never missed a day, because I said, Ma, you don't miss going to work? She's like, shit.
Right.
She's like, nope.
So in business, when you're the boss, this is Doggie Diamonds TV. When I have people sitting next to me, and if you get up here right now and say something you ain't got no business saying, that's offensive to that
Your
I don't.
audience.
It's my fault. I had you up here. You get what I'm saying? So they not gonna say, oh, your man said such and such. They gonna say, well, he was on your platform. I can't say, but I didn't know what he was gonna say. Then why did you have him there then? You don't know what type of language he used. You don't know what type of individual he is. And I did that one time. My bad.
I think we all do that.
But see,
we try to give our folks grace.
But think about this though. I came before my audience and said, sorry. I'm sorry for having certain people on my platform that might have wronged y'all. Yo, that's my fault. You know why? Because I'm a leader. This is my shit. This don't say nobody else. It's my fault.
Doggie Diamonds.
So people don't get, the inmates don't run the asylum. You the one who's the boss. You open and close the doors. And this is what I'm saying. Everybody's not meant to be a leader. And a lot of people have bad leadership skills, but they get promoted to a leadership position due to this faux success that we think money, clothing, jewelry, and the appearance of a leader, you think they're a leader because of their appearance. But when it comes to leadership skills and qualities, they never once said, my fault. I led us into that. Look at, let's take somebody historically. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., what did he say? I fear that I integrated my people into a burning house.
Yep.
He was taking accountability for trying to end segregation, for integrating. He said, but nobody will tell you that. They'll just say Martin Luther King was a punk. He was a sucker. He's for integration. Look up the last days of Martin Luther King. Look it up. I fear.
This letter to Harry Belafonte.
Yeah, I fear that I integrated. So when you say I, because when it comes to the greatness, I did this, I did this, I did that. If it wasn't for me, but how come you good for everything that's good, but anything bad, you point the finger? That's narcissism. Everything good and bad is your fault when you're the leader.
Yep.
Everything good and bad.
And you know what's crazy, dog? A real leader, when they get the victory, they actually give the props to their staff.
Right.
to the people who helped them.
Right.
Said, yo, this ain't just me. I got a dynamic team. I got this one on audio, this one on the camera. My manager, such and such. I didn't do this alone. You know, I did this with the team. But if it folds, you take the hit. You know what I'm saying? That's what a real leader does. That's what a general does.
We learned that in Sun Tzu, The Art of War, in the 90s. We read that in the 90s.
Yeah.
It always said, feed the troops.
Yep.
Feed the troops. If you feed the troops,
first.
they're gonna fight for you.
That's right.
But
You
see
don't
now,
feed them?
but see, reason why, let me segue and give you the double entendre. When niggas get money, did they feed their troops? Why they troops was crying about money? If these the people putting in the work and making you look good, why y'all arguing about money if the money is coming? See, you ain't studied the arts. A lot of dudes ain't studied the arts. That's why there's so much money problems. That's why dudes always arguing about money. If the money is coming and you putting in the work, yo, I'm going to make that back 10,000 times because you putting in the work. But look how niggas get selfish with their own troops. The people who holding you down, the people who do for you. Look how selfish you get. What was Max B great? I'm writing these rhymes and he trying to buy me a t-shirt and then buy a chick a $20,000 bag. He trying to buy me a t-shirt. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of times, y'all be putting people in leadership positions based off of them having on the costume of the leader. Anybody could wear the crown, but that's why I said, heavy is the head that wears the crown. When you wear the crown, it's up to you. You the king of this court. If anything happened, you didn't delegate certain things. You didn't do certain things. You can't say, oh, nah, the jester was wilding. And that's the point I was trying to make to people. But it went over some people's head. And for people who received the message, salute to y'all because y'all gonna go a long way and y'all get it. And I know sometimes when I speak, it ain't for everybody because what I realized today, sometimes I have to realize the level of certain people's comprehension. It ain't what I'm saying. Nigga just don't get it. Because a nigga never got it. And then I start looking at, hold on. You might be a failure in your own right. So of course it don't. Yeah, it's just what I'm saying. You might be a failure in your own right. So that's why you don't understand certain things. That's why she didn't get it. What have you ever been responsible for? What you know, Big Chops? What you ever control? What you know, Big Chops? What you ever control? What have you ever built? What can you say, I'm responsible for this? That you built. You get what I'm saying? That's why I always say to people, yo, this the house that Doggie Diamonds built. This what I built. So anything go wrong, this stream just zap out right now. Yo, my fault, y'all. I always say that, yo, my fault. But YouTube's tripping. But I gotta come back. I can't say, yo, they dead at the stream. You get what I'm saying? And the reason why this conversation is important, Tad, because as black people, yo, niggas don't take blame for shit. They blame everybody else but they self.
We don't. Because I think what happens is, I don't want to go too far back on slavery shit, but I think through the generations, we lost the value in personal accountability. I remember when little Tad and Kevin was young, my sons. And one day I told little Tad to do something. And he just started talking about what Kevin didn't do. I said, hold up. I ain't talking about Kevin. I'll deal with Kevin, but I'm talking about you right now. And don't never do that. When I'm talking about you, you deal with what's going on with you. First thing he wanted to do was deflect. Deflect, rather. You know, it ain't deflect, it's deflect. And just put the attention on his brother. Like,
right.
Kevin didn't do what I told him. No. I'm the father, I'm the leader, I'm the head in this house. And I always told my children, any problem you have in life, please come to me. I said, we a team. I'm the captain, and my job is to make sure all of y'all win. Please be clear. And they understood that because that's how I came at them. I love y'all. It may be strict, maybe stern, because, kids are very impressionable and they're influenced by almost any and everybody. They're influenced by other children. And if they see their friends, parents not disciplining them, not chastising them for bad behavior, my children think that's okay. Oh, I could throw a tantrum and show my ass and nothing gonna happen. You try it if you want to.
Right.
You try it if you want to.
Right.
You know what I mean? But these are lessons we have to teach our children from early. You
Ex-
know what I mean? What they say, train the child up in the way they should go. That way they won't depart the path. However that go,
right.
we got to start early. But even then, as men who brothers and homeboys in the street didn't get that at an early age, we still got to hold them accountable.
Exactly.
Sometimes I tell people they want to do certain things, and I'm be honest, and y'all can have this too. I just tell them, nah, I'm too cool for that shit.
Right.
Sometimes you got to value yourself and minimize something that you know should be beneath you, because sometimes we do dumb shit trying to fit in. Don't be afraid to say, nah, man, I'm too cool for that. I ain't even trying to get jammed up.
Yeah, I'm
with
too,
that.
or I'm, yo, or think about this, right? Dudes will be like, yo, she pregnant. You had on the bag? Nah. What you expect?
Word.
So you're not responsible for oopsing up in the chick? This is the point I'm making. But dudes will be like, I don't know how she got that. Yo, she told me Dr. Umar, she told me she was on the IUD. But you still could have took accountability for you and cover your ass. That's all accountability is. I'm going to cover my ass and make sure all ground is covered. But when you the leader, you're responsible for everybody.
Right.
You're responsible for everybody.
And you hit it on the head, because unfortunately, too many dudes abandon their responsibilities, particularly when you get a woman pregnant. Before you know it, 5, 10, 12, 15 years done went by, and now you got this teenager in the streets. Since his father's not accountable, he's not accountable, because nobody was really there to teach him accountability, because it takes two to tango. And chances are, sisters, if you let a oops in you,
You're going to have
you
a
got to
dun-dun-dun.
take part of that blame
Right,
too.
right.
For
Yep.
robbing your child of a father for a dude you didn't vet, who was a clown.
Right.
I don't care how many degrees he got. I don't care how articulate he is and how charming he may appear to be. And one thing I always told my sons, it's not how many people you could beat. It's not how many girls you can get. It's not how much money you got. Only thing that makes you a man is responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And responsibility is synonymous with accountability. Your ability to respond. If you have a challenge, if you have an issue, you have to respond to that and come up with the best solution possible, so it don't come back and bite you down the line. That's what real responsibility and accountability is. Because when you don't do that, you just run through your life playing the blame game, and never do you really look at yourself. And then in this digital age right now, almost anybody could be an influencer. All you need is a cell phone and an internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
And we know human nature is just attracted to tragedy and negative energy. That's why we love car crashes. That's why we celebrate a dude coming home from jail, and we ignore the dude
Right.
graduating from college.
Right.
It's just human nature. It ain't just black people.
Right,
It's
right.
all people.
Right.
All people just love tragic
So we could trauma
scenarios.
bond. Yeah, so we could say, yeah, man, yeah, me too.
But as we evolve, we need to be the change that we really want to see. As me and Dog sit here had this conversation, we talking it because we live it. Anybody who knew us back in the 90s and the 80s and even early 2000s knew we was outside. We was knuckleheads. That's why we wasn't invited to a lot of things.
Right.
How y'all think we know all these hip hop dudes, but wasn't really invited to everything? Because while they singing about it, we really outside doing the wildness.
And
you know
when
what
we
I'm
ain't
saying?
get our way, party over.
Yeah, party over.
Party over.
And that was our ignorance.
Right.
That we had to really go home and examine, because we was in that moment at the time, but wasn't getting the desired results.
And
You know what I'm
and as we grew as men. That's why I say accountability is grown man business.
Yeah.
As we grew as men, we can make excuses for little boy shit.
Right.
You're a grown man now. You don't know better than that? Nobody taught you? So, okay, because we have friends who don't come from a big family background, so we became their family. And what we always do, hold them accountable. Yo, you can't be doing that shit if you want to be around us.
Right.
Yo, you
Say
pulled
that
out
part
you
again, dog.
you pulled out your ratchet. You can't be around us if you can't be doing that shit if you want to be
Son, you
around
wildin'.
us.
Right.
You wildin'. Yo, you did
wildin'.
what? Yo, respectfully, we have friends, brothers, because we never been friends with nobody. We always had brotherhoods. We have friends, brothers, that might have been domestic violence. They might have been beating their chick up. Yo,
Right.
we got to talk to such and such. Wow. Yo, he whipped this girl out last night. Nah, he can't do that. Yo, you ain't going to be doing that. If you going to be doing that, you can't be around us. Nah, but so what? We holding you accountable because you picked the wrong chick. That's the chick you chose to lay with. But I realize when a person's a narcissist, it's always everybody else's fault. And the worst narcissist is a narcissist that's empowered by ignorant ass people who think it's cool because they got something that you want or some type of allure to them. So you won't even hold them accountable because they got this or they got that or they might be able to do this for me. Yo, he might throw me a bone. That's why Diddy was able to run around the way he was. And now he's being held accountable right now, right? And who's standing with him? Nobody. But y'all was standing with him before. Y'all enabled that. Because let me tell you something. If we don't hold you accountable, your friends, the goddamn law will.
Oh, man.
The law gonna hold you accountable. Ignorance is not a legal defense. So I see some people, I didn't grow up knowing this. I ain't growing that. So when you enter said field, when do you educate yourself about the field? You think you could just wing it? We don't live life through winging it. You can't get in a car and just drive it if you don't know how to drive. You don't know how to walk if you never was in a walker or maybe even walking shoes. But see, now because of social media and the way dudes is carrying it and the allure of being this Mr. Big Cheese and people looking up to a dude in said field and think he could be a master in everything, we start thinking, yo, he could do this and do that because he achieved this. That's how a lot of dudes is the jack of all trades and the master of none. Just because I know how to lay tile, that don't mean I know how to drive Uber. You get what I'm saying? But we think, oh, he's successful in this. He gonna know how to do that. That's why we all jacked up. And that's why as a people, we messed up because we can't hold our women accountable. Can't hold the kids accountable for nothing. Because the mothers don't want to be accountable. The fathers don't want to be accountable for the kids wilding. Because when the kids is out there wilding, doing stuff they ain't got no business doing, bong and shit, drill music and all that, where does it come from? And when a mother or father say, listen, don't hold me accountable because I'm trying, make them a ward of the state. Yo, give them, I'm putting you in the foster care. I'm putting you in the home. That's taking accountability, trying to remedy the situation. How do I remedy the situation? Because you know what? It's my problem. As the leader, as the father, as the brother, as the homeboy, as the husband, as the sister, as the wife, because it's not a man thing all the time, it's a woman thing too. If your baby still shitting on themselves in Pampers at 8 years old, you got to take accountability that you ain't potty trained them. It's your fault. They gonna say, yo, your son pooped
He
on
can't
himself.
come back to the school till
Yeah,
he learn how to potty, till he learn how to use the bathroom.
They pooped on themselves. And you know
And
what?
keep pooping.
Now bust it, right? So that's what happens. Oh, the kid is pooping on themselves and you're not teaching them how to use the bathroom? Let's call DIFAS on them. Let's call Child Protective Services. Like I said, you don't got to be accountable, but that law is going to hold you accountable. Now they going to come in for neglect.
Yep.
So when you got a light bill that's $7,000 and you don't want to be accountable for the light bill, lights out, nigga. Jigga, regardless to what. Them lights going out. Right or wrong, the lights going out. Oh, you don't want to be accountable for this? You're going to lose your spot. You could play, yo, we could make excuses all day. We could say, nah, that's because of this. But the end result is the end result. That's just all filler and buffer. That's all filler and buffer. Oh, nah, why you moved? Oh, because this happened and that happened. Okay. But you know we're going to take your car, right? Nah, I couldn't. With Robin Harris, I don't know, some of y'all might not be old enough to know about Robin Harris. He said, yo, he'll pull the electric chair. He's like, yo, dude's like, I killed all them people because I'm crazy too. No, he said, I killed up all them people because I'm crazy. Well, I'm crazy too. Have a seat. Because at the end of the day, you cannot shirk responsibility. And we got to look at anybody who shirk responsibility and don't want to be held accountable, and anybody siding with that and understanding that. That's a reflection of them. Because I notice everybody want to be this street leader. Everybody want to be this bravado. Everybody want to be tough. It's a lot of responsibility with being tough.
Let me tell you, man, and this is what I wanted to say, though.
Go ahead.
Man. You got to take that shit off, because all of my lessons, the most valuable life lessons I've learned, and I said this before, has been in the jail cell and the hospital bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I learned my most valuable lessons. Why? Because I was taking penitentiary chances and life-ending chances, because I used to have a temper problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't care how mad I am, and those who know. I don't care if you got a weapon. If it's on, it's on. It's up. You gonna delete me, you gotta earn it. But then by the time I calm down and get out of my feelings, I'm either in somebody's cell or in a hospital bed getting my head closed up.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Either or. Yep.
And then and as an adult, raising children, teaching them right, but I'm outside doing wrong. How does that really
You're a
impact
hypocrite.
my children? How does that impact their development?
Right.
Am I being a responsible adult? You know, because I don't want my children, I never wanted my children to go through a quarter of the stuff I went through. But how can I be raising young humans,
Right.
telling them to do right, and I'm a bad example? One of those people being a hypocrite saying, don't do as I do, do as I say.
Right.
But all they see me is out here just wilding out, losing my mind, not showing emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
not showing self-control, not demonstrating self-mastery. Because as we get older, that's what it should be about. That was one of the things the teachers and principals used to tell my mother. He has no self-control.
Mm-hmm.
He has, yo, dog, real rap. I remember when I signed myself out of Sarah J, when I was old enough to sign myself out of school, and they gave me my transcripts. It wasn't digital, it was in manila folders, and it went all the way back to daycare. And it said that I threw a chair at a kid back. I don't even remember that, but almost every grade, I was in trouble for fighting. Any infraction was fighting. I was never a dummy. Remember, we always went to specialized schools. You know, I went to high school law and design, you know, but got kicked out of there for fighting, you know, but that didn't serve me. It didn't serve me well. I may have thought it served me being a juvenile, a young person raised in the 80s, you know, with the crack epidemic hitting and the influence on television and movies that whoever's the most violent is the hero. You know, everybody who was a hero was always violent. But then as I became an adult, I learned about this book called The Hero's Journey. And it talks about the difference between the hero and the villain. They say they both are motivated by pain. It's just what they choose to do with it. The villain suffers pain, so he wants the world to feel his pain. The superhero suffered pain, and he don't want nobody to go through that. So he decides he's going to help as many people as he can to avoid the pain he has. So we all got our pain points. And I say that because a lot of what motivates dudes is the pain. You rush into that bag because that pain of poverty done scarred you. You traumatized. You know what I'm saying? You want to get with every chick that you see because there was one particular woman that broke your heart when you was coming up, and now you don't never want to go through that again. So you're going to try to be with as many women as you can and womanize as many women as you can. Probably got beat up as a kid.
Because you hard. Yeah.
Now,
Now you tough. Now you walk around
now
with the
you
good to
take all these
get. Yep.
boxing classes
Yep.
and MMA, and you in the gym all the time because now you don't want to feel the pain of that ass whooping no more.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reality. That's why I used to walk with my weapon. I've been popped one time. I said never
I
again.
remember you said that, yo, I got shot by a sucker. I ain't never getting.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna get
got
you
shot
first.
by a sucker.
And I
And I mean,
remember.
I got popped again, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was during my transition on growing to this man that y'all see right now that is literally still growing.
Right.
Over 50 years old, and I'm still growing.
Right.
I'm not where I'm supposed to be because I know a lot more than I knew 5 years ago, and I don't know a piece of what I'm going to learn in the next 5 years.
Right.
So me and Doggie always have these conversations because
Every day.
Yo, we done did. Hold up, Doggie. I got to say this.
Right.
We done did the chilling in the room as teenagers with Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane, EPMD, and all them on the wall, just talking about hip hop, not knowing they're one of these people. Back when Big was still just our childhood friend,
Right.
and Foxy was our childhood friend, not knowing they were gonna grow up to be who they became.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We always had this love for hip hop. But the thing was, we always talked about our day and how could we make it better? How could we make tomorrow better? We wasn't born with no silver spoon. We was welfare kids. We was overcrowded house.
Yep.
All kind of stuff.
Hand-me-down clothes. Yo, let me hold that shirt today to go with these pants. No. Yo, I let you hold that yesterday. Trading sneakers, everything.
Yeah.
You know what's deep? You know
Go ahead,
what's
Joe.
deep too? Because we also pull each other coats.
We had to.
Pull each other coats. Like, yo, what you do that for? That ain't make no sense. Remember one time, because there's so many, see, the people don't understand why I'm so passionate about this. We grew up with a lot of males. We can name the
Strong
women,
men.
grown
Strong
men, strong men, and I'm one of the youngest. I'm the youngest of a certain generation, you know, so everybody kind of had to, I kind of had to listen to everybody because I was the tag along after a while. They was old enough to go to school. I couldn't even go to school yet. You know what I'm saying? And I had to stay with my grandmother all day. And they was in second grade and all that. And I'm like, yo, I can't even go to school yet. So coming up, tad behavior. One time, dude, let me refresh you. One time, we was wilding. And we had beef, you know, with the dudes on Myrtle, which is our
Shout
bros
out to
now,
them.
right? And I said, yo, Tad, we got to think about your grandma walk back and forth to the school every day. What if somebody do something to grandma? And you was like, yo, never really thought about that before. It was like, yo, we gonna have to start moving different. Grandma got the same routine every day.
And it was up back then.
What if somebody gets brave, because remember the kite got sent, and that's why, well, you can't talk about none of that. Remember, one of those kites got sent about doing something to one of the elders, and we was like, okay.
Right, talking about hurting my mother.
Yeah, game over. You know what I'm saying? It's party time. Like, yeah, it you
Broad
know.
daylight.
Yeah,
We not playing
word.
with nobody.
Yeah. So, but that was the 14-year-old mind saying, yo, we got to be more accountable because what happens when other people start getting hurt for what we do?
Right.
And do you remember last year, the year before last, you said, yo, I'm sorry. I said, for what?
Yeah.
He said, yo, that time we was over there and I bust that move, yo, you don't even know. I could have messed your life up.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I ain't thinking about that. But you was like, nah, but I am.
Right.
I'm thinking about what I could have did to you, and I'm supposed to be protecting you. You came with me to protect me. I bust a move and didn't even let you know. Now this dude is apologizing 30-something years later for something that happened when we was kids.
That could have sent us both to jail forever.
Forever.
And he didn't even know. He
I
was
didn't
just
even
like, "Where
think
you
about
going?"
yeah.
I said, I'm just gonna rough this dude up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
well,
ain't
you going
told
by
him I was
yourself?
over.
No, you're
He's
not.
like, I'm coming with you.
Word, I'm coming with you. I said, how many of them? He says like 8 of them. I'm like, ooh, we gonna throw down. Me and him walking over there, but because you had on jean shorts and a t-shirt with your shirt tucked in. So I'm like, we about to rumble. So I was like, yo, which one is it? He was like, I think it's him. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just go over there and hit him. And nah, wait. Like, fuck, we waiting for? So things progressed, but it was a penitentiary. We'd have just been coming out right now, chance, right?
Yeah.
And he apologized 30 years later because he realized his
That was one
job,
of the dumbest moves.
dumbest moves, and his job in life was always to protect me.
Always.
So he
Doggie's
said,
always been one of my favorite
word.
cousins.
So he said, yo, I didn't even protect you in that situation. I was just wilding. And my dumb ass was just happy to wild too. Like, yo, fuck it. We just, you know what I'm saying? By the time, smoke clear, I think we was in another borough or something like that. But because we used the boogie. Yeah, but again.
And that's one of many times that I've wilded out. And that's why, that's why, real quick, dog, that's why I don't buy the tough routine.
Right.
Because I'm like, at this age,
you still tough.
You still tough.
Yeah.
Like you ain't take that shit off. You didn't hit that pinnacle yet. That you solidify wherever you go. That people could just look at you and see you real deal. You still got something to prove.
Right.
That's why, like you said earlier, when I see dudes, I just like peace, bro, peace, peace. Because I know how far I'm gonna take it.
I'm gonna de-escalate. I'm gonna de-escalate because you don't know.
I gotta de-escalate before I escalate. Because when I escalate, I could lose. Everybody gonna lose. Everybody.
But now look, yo, Tad, why you wild out? You got to be held accountable because now look, you got kids, you got grandsons, now, you got granddaughters. You understand what I'm saying? You counting on me. You have no excuse for your behavior, and that's grown man shit though.
Unless I'm defending myself.
Right. So when we reach a certain
attack me,
right. So what I'm saying is that when we reach a certain pinnacle of age, where age is supposed to come, knowledge
and
wisdom, but then now look at dudes understanding. They don't even understand why they should have knowledge and wisdom. They don't even understand. So certain words bother them. They more bothered by a word than they are the behavior. Think about that.
Rewind that. Say that again.
They more bothered by a word than they are the behavior. So if I can't hold Tad accountable for his actions, who can?
Right.
If you can't hold me accountable for my actions, who can? So that's just running around reckless. And again, you know who gonna hold me accountable? The goddamn law or the morgue.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. That's the sad part. Because a lot of times we be trying to save our friends.
And family.
But the main thing is, I gotta save you from you. You your biggest problem. But look how your problems trickle down to me. So when your problem become my problem,
we got a problem.
We got a problem, and I got to say something to you. So that's why in my demonstration the other day, I demonstrated how you have a history of this problem, and look how it became my problem. And again, everybody not going to get it because everybody don't know past history with people too. Anytime, think about this. You have some children who act out. Their mother don't want to be held accountable for their child acting out. So what do they say? Everybody picking on them. No, your kid really be spitting. Your kid really be out here spitting. And I'm neutral, but I seen them throwing rocks and spitting. Oh, they just picking on him. You know what you got? A future inmate. Because it starts when you little, right? It starts when you little. And if you don't get it when you little, you get it as a teen, and you get it from your peers and your loved ones and people who really, really got respect for you. Because when a person holds you accountable, that means they got love for you. Because some people just clap you. Some people just clap you.
Clap or let you crash out. Like, I ain't gonna say nothing to him. He gonna learn.
Yeah, he gonna learn. You gonna learn, Trey. So again, look at the times that we in. Everybody just reckless wilding. I remember when we had Charleston with us. Charleston wanted to do things his way, what he wanted to say. So people like, yo, he's on your network. I can't be accountable for what another man say and do. So we got to part. Salute to you in all your endeavors. Because even as the leader, if it's your job to cut the electricity on, right, literally with the switch, and make sure the deep freezers is running and put the food away, if you don't do that and the food spoil, I got to hold you accountable for that. See, even as a boss, you hold people accountable.
You know, dog.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of that, it just the thought popped in my mind with why Beans was mad at Jay-Z. I remember they was gonna let Beans go, and from what Beans said, you know, they was gonna let him go, but Jay-Z was gonna have to be responsible.
Right.
And they asked Jay-Z, "Will you be responsible for him?" And he said no.
Right.
Beans was like, it crushed his world, but as he put more thought into it, he realized why Jay-Z did that. Because even Beans understood at that time in his life,
Couldn't be held
he
accountable
didn't
for
he
nothing. Yep.
yeah, he didn't have that level of self-control. And that's a big burden you putting on somebody when you ask them to be accountable, because it's the same thing in the streets. When things go left in the streets, what dudes say, yo, who mans is this?
Word, yeah, exactly.
Who mans
Because
is
I'm going
this?
to blame
Come get
you.
your man.
Yeah, come get your
Your
man.
man.
Yep.
Come get your man. Remember, shout out to my dude Bush. Me and one of Bush people had a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Bush was drunk one night, showing his ass, embarrassing all of us. And his man kept laughing. I was like, yo, stop laughing. It's not funny. He's like, nah, son, doing him. I said, yo, but he only doing it because you laughing, you entertaining this dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
And me and dude end up getting in an argument. Bush sobered up when I put hands on his man.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yo, what's going on? I'm like, nah. Because I said, yo, Bush, talk to your man or I'm going to fuck him up.
Yep.
Because it went too far. And Bush, you know, Bush been my dude since daycare to public school to this day. That's still my brother.
Right.
But he was intoxicated just showing his ass. And I'm trying to be accountable for my man because he's starting trouble with dudes. I'm talking about from Bed-Stuy to Crown Heights. He was just starting with people. And I'm saying to myself, if somebody jump him, I can't let him get beat up by himself. I
Right.
got to fight with him. But don't put me in that position. Because the other dude that I was with, I didn't know him like that.
Right.
So I'm not even counting on him. I don't know if he got hands or heart.
Right.
I just know Bush is my man, and I got his back. But he's just sitting here fucking with people. We was in the style on Lafayette. He was fucking with people. Then we go.
I know
to
how.
Crown
I
Heights.
remember how Bush was. I just remember.
We on Ralph. Dudes are standing on the corner, and he just walks up, drunk, staggering,
Mm-hmm.
just ice grilling them. And they was like, "Who mans is this?"
Word.
Like,
Yeah.
yo, they all looking at each other like, who is this dude? And I was like, yo, chill, that's my man. Let me take him. Yeah, get your man for y'all, you know, and they threw the little threats. And I had to eat the threats because my ego was like, hold up, ain't nobody gonna do nothing to me. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And my
Yep.
man was dead ass wrong. But we could have got flipped on.
You know why a lot of people don't want to be held accountable to? Because they narcissists and they lack discipline. So if I was made like me, I don't drink. So I will always be the designated driver. Right? So if before we go out, you don't drink, I'm gonna take a sip, you gotta drive. What happens if I take a sip now? Y'all can't depend on me.
Right.
So if I say, yo, I only took one drink and I ain't drinking 23 years, and then I get behind the wheel and crash, you're going to hold me accountable. Yo, who told you to drink? Nah, I just wanted one. Yeah, word. I only wanted one drink. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of people lack discipline. They lack financial discipline. They lack mental discipline. They lack, meat discipline. And social discipline and spiritual discipline, and they with whatever. And that's why they are in the situation they in. And when people who lack accountability always will play the blame game. It's always with somebody else's fault. Yep. Especially a narcissist. A narcissist will never say, yo, I'm sorry, y'all.
Right.
They'll say, I'm sorry but I'm sorry that Tag came on here with me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's still low budget blaming you.
Right.
And a lot of us got behavioral problems too. And then we don't want to be held accountable because even in the times of conflict, if we don't know how to de-escalate and talk to each other, because I ain't, you know what I'm saying, without indulging in too much information, there's times I be wanting to go off the deep end with stuff, but who I call you, I call Poe. I call you, and I be like, yo, why do I call Tad? Because any situation that I cause automatically hinders him involuntarily. Why? Because we are first cousins, and when people see me They see him. When they see him, they see me. So anything that I do could affect him. So I want to let him know and get his counsel on, is this a good move? That ain't no good move. Okay, cool. And if I bust a move when he told me it ain't a good move, then he's going to hold me accountable for, yo, I told you not to do that. Because we got a problem with people telling us stuff because we all want to be bosses and nobody can't tell me nothing. Sometimes it's not telling. A better word would be advising.
Right, advising.
I'm advising you not to do that.
Yeah, what my mother used to say?
Mm-hmm.
Remember she said, if you took my advice, you wouldn't need my help.
Right. Right.
Because people don't take your advice. They go out the opposite direction you suggested. And then when they get jammed up, they calling you for help. Yo, you took my advice, you wouldn't need my help.
But don't want to be accountable.
Home.
But they don't want to
Right.
be accountable for going the other way.
But look, I called such and such and they don't want to help me.
Right.
Tell the part where they said, don't do the shit that's going to get you jammed up to where you need help.
Exactly.
How about that part?
Maestro Fresh West, I appreciate you. And see, again, this has so many layers because these are the type of talks that we need to have amongst us, listening, sitting back, and learning from people, because accountability and discipline is how you grow. That's how you grow into manhood, especially if you got children or loved ones that depend on you. And see, this is the thing with me too. You got grown-ass men who don't want to take advice, who don't want to be accountable, who don't want to be disciplined. How do you take care of people like that? You got people who depend on you. Whether it's your children, your loved ones, your mother, your sister, whoever. If once you got people who depend on you, you change your outlook. You change your outlook on money. You change your outlook on life, your health, how you carry it, how you drive, what you eating, what you feeding them, how you carry yourself. Who you associate with, because now you're responsible for other people. And one of the main things that you want to be is there for them. So if you can't be accountable, that means you'll crash and blame it on something.
Go to jail.
And go to jail.
Clipped, and then be hollering, my kids, my kids. But you wasn't thinking about your kids when you was out there doing them dumb moves.
Listen, remember that? Remember that year we didn't get nothing for Christmas? We just got a song and a dance.
We got an apology.
Word. But we got an apology nonetheless.
Yep. Sorry.
See, that was accountability.
Yeah. Sorry we did this every year, but this year we really ain't got it.
Yo, gotta eat it. But you know what? We gonna go outside and we gonna get it.
Yeah.
But remember, your mother said, you out there getting that fast money? Don't call me when they grab you up. Let it be known, okay? You go out there and get that fast money. Do y'all know about the wars going on in the neighborhood over this, that, and the third? You out there getting that fast money? Don't call me when they grab you.
And when they grabbed me, looked me right in my face,
like,
said, what you want us to do with them? She said, fuck it, keep them. Like, wow. That's back when they used to let you go home with your mother.
Yep.
If she takes you to the precinct, you could go home with her. He's like, nah.
But she told you. And that was teen years.
Yeah, that was teen years. And I think I want to share that story because the statute of limitations up. I got probation for that and everything.
Right.
But being fast, right? And maybe y'all can identify with this or share with a young person. I was hustling in the projects, stashing the work in the mailbox. And a friend of mine's family broke in the mailbox and stole everything. The guy I was selling for didn't like my friend. So now that they done stole from me, he had his reason to go at him. And I didn't want him to. I didn't want him to hurt my friend because, again, like Doug said, we was teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Dude I was hustling for was older. You know, he's a few years older than us. But now he got his reason. Oh, y'all family stole from us? Now I'm going to hurt you. Because you the one in the streets, per se. The uncles were older and things like that, and I begged them not to. And I went out there to catch a lick just so I could pay this dude back so he don't hurt my homeboy. In the midst of it, got jammed up.
That's when I walked up. It's like, yo, Tad, what happened? I got bagged. Right there on Carlton. Right there on Carlton.
Right on Carlton, you know. and I'll say this because I
Yo,
don't
you
want
remember?
people to think
But you
the
remember
composure we have.
real quick. They didn't even have the fence up right there. Remember?
No,
There was no
no, I
fence.
remember.
Yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
was the brick wall. I mean,
Yep.
the brick
Right.
incline.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
and, and I say, and I just want to share this real quick, and I'm passing the mic back. I just got to share these stories of authenticity because y'all may see what appears to be the finished product. We're not finished. We're a little more polished, but I want folks to know that we've been through it. When
Mm-hmm.
people will see us right now, we grown men. We over 40 years old. I'm over
Mm-hmm.
50.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want people to think I don't know what time it is or you don't understand. And I always try to tell people I understand more than you think. I just don't brag about it or wear it as a badge of honor because I always look at it as a blessing that I'm alive and free and I won't squander that. Sure enough, as I said in the morning, take an hour for yourself to work out, 10 minutes to meditate, 5 minutes to pray. Within that prayer is always a prayer of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
That when I wake up, when I open my eyes, that I am free. I'm not in a jail cell. I know what that smells like. You
Mm-hmm.
know, imagine Diddy, imagine Suge. You go from a mansion to a jail cell
Right.
as a grown man for Suge Knight. Look at Big U. You go from a big house controlling your city, and now you waking up in a jail cell fighting for your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reality that a lot of people who don't practice self-control, self-mastery, and accountability don't take into account.
But
That
self-control
yeah,
is accountability. And then you just said, don't take into account. Look how I just keep rolling out. Different words all mean the same thing.
yeah. Because
Self-control is accountability.
you and I, we talk about this all the time. We tired of seeing dudes crash out. I said on this platform before, I applaud all the dudes that come home from jail, figure this YouTube thing out, figure this podcast thing out. I'm still figuring out my stuff. I like to see us win. And call me a sucker, whatever, but I just like to see my brothers win, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because I done had my taste of having dudes as ops. Because guess what? When we ops, I'm hurting the community that I say I love. Why? Because if we ops, I got to do what I got to do to the ops. Because I
Mm-hmm.
believe if I don't, you going to do it to me. It's like when dudes threaten me, when they be like, yo, I'll kill you, I'll do this, that. All right, so now if I believe you, what do you think I'm supposed to do?
Right.
You threaten me, what do you think I'm supposed to do with that information? Like I said, I've been shot by the softest dude in the world. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe you tell me you A1 illest dude in Nebraska. Guess what? I believe you.
Yep.
Now what you think I'm gonna do? Because just like for years y'all thought Doggie was by himself. Those who know me know I am never by myself. I'm good in any hood.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know me, you know my peoples. And if you know my peoples, then it's a small world. The hood is not big like that.
But think
And
about
this is
this.
what I be trying to convey. But real quick, we could all eat together
Right.
because the world is bigger than our hood. When you think with that lack mentality, you don't want to see your brother eat because you think it ain't enough money for you. But when we step out this paradigm of the quote unquote hood and you see how much money's really out there, that is really enough. Black folks spend over $1 trillion annually by ourselves. That's the money we spend. Imagine what we could tap into when we think outside the box, when we think outside the hood and stop trying to extort and hurt each other. The shit we could really do. And we talking about China. Go ahead,
right.
dog.
But think about this though. Now, reason why I'm qualified to speak on this, because I shared all mine. A lot of y'all niggas ain't reciprocate. That's what I'm talking about. I shared mine. I shared my platform. I shared my camera. I shared my studio. I shared everything I ever had. I've always put others before me. But when dudes got their little bit of something, how many of y'all reciprocated? So I wanted to see you win. But you was happy when you thought I was losing. That's the problem now. So we say we want for our brother what we want for ourselves. But somewhere the signals got crossed in the line and don't nobody owe me anything. I don't want nothing from nobody because I'm self-made, self-paid, build my shit by myself with my bare hands. You watch me from the foundation, 12, 13 years old, saying what I wanted to do then, doing right now. You know what I'm saying? So this was written. This is destiny. And what's destined for you can't no man stop it. This shit from our ancestors, from our bloodline, from our family, and we put in the work to get here. So I always be bewildered when dudes start talking little quasi street shit. I be like, sometimes I want to talk that too. Sometimes I want to talk that too. Sometimes when I hear little words and I hear bitch and I like that a little bit sometimes. Sometimes I like that because I be missing cracking somebody in their mouth or getting their mouth cracked. Sometimes I miss it. No, for real.
No,
Sometimes I miss it. And I be like, yo, you really don't even know what you just said, or you don't know what you saying. You really don't know what you thinking, because I'm telling you, it's going to go too far. And it ain't about what we going to do. It's about what you going to do and what I'm going to do. And I'm always going to bet on me. So don't let the internet, don't let your emotions, don't let comments, don't let anything get you fucked up. Because we all have to be responsible and accountable for ourselves and others and our loved ones. You think I want to get into a situation and Tag coming from somewhere, and he in a war, in a battle for his life or a situation, or gotta hurt somebody behind some shit I said? That's why I'm cautious with my words. That's why I always run different things by my family. I'm just not no loose cannon, no pun intended. You get what I'm saying? Everything that I do is calculated. A lot of times, see people, and then another thing that I'm gonna say this, y'all niggas need permission to have beef with me. All y'all niggas need permission to have beef with me. You know why? Because it ain't gonna be a lot of people on your side. When you think, yo, I don't like this, that, and the third, what's gonna happen? People gonna slowly start turning their back on you. And you're gonna wonder what's going on. Why? Because my hand is in a lot of places that you don't know it's at. It's in your hood, it's in that hood, and it's in that hood. Why? Because I move with love and reverence for my people. And it ain't never a time where I ain't try to help my people. And the only thing that I was trying to convey to dudes is like, yo, I'm telling a lot of dudes what I be telling them. It is out of love, because the opposite of love is war. This is what this 927 is. I never declare war on nobody. I always led with love. But I realize the more love I lead with, the more I get little declarations of war that I got to ignore sometimes. Because if I take you up on that offer, where does that leave you? But then I realize you don't love nobody. You don't care about nobody. You can't be held accountable for nothing. So it don't even matter to you. I be doing you a favor. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of times when you think about what we dealing with and what we got going on, and we responsible for people. First of all, we responsible for ourselves. That's what accountability is. Again, when I was 300 pounds, when you see me in the video with Math Hoffa and I was 300 pounds, look how I changed from then to now. You know why? Because it wasn't nobody's fault but mine. Nobody sat down and made me eat. Nobody did the movie Seven to me, sat me down and fed me spaghetti. Nobody did none of that. That was me. Why? Because I ate a certain way based off of trauma that I had. So what I had to do, I went to therapy and got laughed at by some people. But look what the therapy did to me. Look what the therapy did for me. When I was overweight, remember, I got the bike. I was riding the bike everywhere. Niggas was laughing at first. But I knew what the bike did because you had a bike. And I was like, yo, Tad, what type of bike I should get? Yo, you could get a street bike. You could get a, what's the shit called?
A road bike or hybrid.
A hybrid, yeah. You could get one of those bikes.
Combination of a street
or a mountain bike. Yeah, a mountain bike,
and a mountain bike, yeah.
So I went and got a bike. But then when dudes started seeing the results, first they laugh, then they try to imitate you. When I first had a camera, what you doing with that camera shit? Now everybody camera. Oh, you doing a pod? What's a podcast? Now everybody do YouTube. You get what I'm saying? So again, I got the right to speak about certain shit, because if you follow in my footsteps, that means I was there before you. I led you to what you doing now. Of course, I'm going to look back and say to you, yo, bro, you doing that wrong. Yo, bro, you need to be a little bit more responsible. When I personally call your phone and tell you something for your own health and safety, how could you say I don't give a fuck about you? because it was private. It wasn't a public conversation. You get what I'm saying? But I am going to hold you accountable for stuff. And being with this newfound fame and these new things that people are getting, it come a point where you can't tell them nothing no more. The minute you can't tell somebody something no more, you can't hold them accountable. The brother King Simon in the building. King Simon used to
Shout out to our
personally
brother King
listen
Simon.
and look and listen. This is how the universe is perfect. King Simon used to personally hold Brother Polite responsible for some of the things he did. It came a point where King Simon couldn't tell Brother Polite nothing no more. So how could you tell somebody something if you can't hold them accountable? Once a person feel like, yo, you can't tell me nothing, my bag is up, I gave my daughter to Rafe. Remember that? I gave my daughter to Rafe.
Nah, he threw a not guilty party. Like,
That's what
hold
I'm
on,
saying. See, lack of accountability, this is what our community breeds. It breeds that. Because it was a point where you could say, yo, bro, you bugging. And when you can't say, yo, bro, you bugging, now you got a wild child. And wild child be grown ass men, 40-something, 50-something, still acting like little boys. But nobody can't tell them nothing. What is it? Yo, you can't tell them nothing. He just,
I'm grown.
yeah, I'm grown.
I'm grown.
Okay. You grown. You're going to be grown in the jail cell. Like I said, it's two places that will hold you accountable. The morgue and the jail cell, or the hospital bed, or the wheelchair. Because there's a lot of pain that come with not listening. What they said, a hard head make a soft behind.
Soft ass. Yeah.
But one of the main things too, Tad, that took away accountability, a lot of niggas don't get blood put in their mouth no more. That was accountability.
Yeah, that too.
Because when you did something, you got blood put in your mouth. You ain't like that.
dealt with
You ain't like to taste your own blood.
And by your peoples, though.
Yo, that's what I said. Yo, we used to hold dudes, yo, like I said, my older brother called it, yo, you got it fucked up. Yo, why you do that? Because he's the oldest, and with our family structure, if he did that, you made us all look bad. You're not going to be doing that. Because that's not how we move as a family.
Right. That's not.
That's the
our
most important thing. So when is somebody that you had dealings with, when was somebody that was your brother, although they might not be your brother by blood, they're your brother by spirit and your brother by common mind, when can you not hold them accountable? How's therapy? I'm about to tell you to eat a long phallus. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you. Because although we've evolved from the street shit, you don't forget where you come from. And I said precisely, a lot of people can't get held accountable no more because people don't put blood in their mouth no more. I never said I would do what I would do, stupid. I said that's the reason why. Because there's no consequence anymore for people's actions. And again, the morgue, the prison cell, the wheelchair, and the hospital bed will hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Or, and again, I want y'all to know something too. Not knowing something is not a legal defense to anything. Just know that. You can't say I didn't know. Any field that you get in, you're supposed to know. Whether it's subleasing, whether it's leasing, whether it's owning. And for anybody who questioned anything what I might have owned, I have my own office downtown Brooklyn. Everybody know that. Everybody know I have my own office. Till I moved from the office downtown, I moved into the Viacom building. I was there. You came there a few times, Tad.
Yeah.
I brought Gene Deal there. I brought C. Gutter there. I brought Chris Rivers there. I brought Fly Ty there. I put interviews. I was in the Viacom
Chris
building.
Gotti, right?
Chris Gotti. I was in the Viacom building. with BET and MTV and all that. Yeah, I was doing my podcast in there. Then I moved from there. Oh, we was at DTF first. So I've always been building. And it's funny that anybody might question anything that I built when you was a guest that where I built my shit at before. So see the revisionist history and the amnesia that gets played when person is trying to control a narrative or make a point. Look what happens. You get what I'm saying? So I was in the, we had to get permission. We had to give our real name to get in the Viacom building.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? Going there every Wednesday. So, Tad, I want you to give a final thought, close us out. Thank everybody who joined us tonight. And if you could take, and I just do want to say this before he close us out. Listen, man, there's nothing wrong with picking up that phone and telling your brother, your sister, not literally, but, you know, figuratively, it's nothing wrong with picking up that phone. And I told y'all last night, most arguments is done by tone. But there's nothing wrong with calling your people and saying, yo, I don't think that was a good idea. Why not? Because this is the consequence of them actions. And because I love you and I care about you, it might affect me if they blow your top off. Or it might affect me if you lose this. Or it might affect your kids. Think about that. But the minute you cannot no longer call your people, your brother, your sister, and say that they don't have no more accountability, then it's the wild, wild west. Let's just all wild out then. We ain't got to be responsible, accountable for nothing. Let's all wild out. But Tad, close us out.
I just want people to think about what their legacy is going to be. We all leaving this planet and they're going to give us a eulogy. And you got to think about, what do you want your legacy to be? Accountability builds trustworthiness. If you're not trustworthy, people are not going to deal with you. When you have nothing, when you don't have a dollar, if you got a good reputation, people will introduce you to opportunities. People will loan you money to get to where you need to get. But if you're not trustworthy, people are not going to rock with you. And what makes you not trustworthy? Not being accountable for your actions. So I need everybody to really think about this, ponder this. You know, if you're rocking with it, put accountability in the chat. You know, find an accountability partner. Like Dog said, you know, me and him hold each other accountable. We talk about the gym all the time. You know what I'm saying? Either I always go early in the morning. He got a little more time, so he go whenever he want to. But we always talk about the workout. You know what I'm saying? As well as have life-affirming conversations like this. So get with your tribe, get with your family, you know what I mean? And start having conversations around accountability and just character and personal development. See, a lot of people are old, but they're not grown. They're just aging, but they're not growing. And as long as we got breath in our lungs, we all should be trying to grow. So hopefully you was inspired by something you heard here tonight, and you could go out and inspire others. So y'all stay up, stay blessed, and stay true. Dog.
Yeah, so we appreciate y'all as always. And please share this video. Please hit a like, and please come back and speak to us. Speak to me in the comments. I appreciate y'all, man, like, because to sit in this seat sometimes and not talk nigga shit is refreshing for me. And to be received by 10 people, 20 people, 200, 200,000, it mean a lot, because that means that us men who evolve from little boys to men and care about their community, others, brotherhood, sisterhood, is not going in vain. Because remember, it's more them than it is us. So we got to stick together, because they're trying to override us. It's only like 5% of us. It's a lot of them. And some of the 5% is being pulled over to that side. So when you hold your man accountable, you say, hey, what you doing over there? Get your ass back over here. So good night. I'll holler at y'all later on. Peace.